I'm Charlie Brideville Derby, and today I'm being joined by Jerry Moss, one of the founders of A&M Records, which is the subject of the upcoming documentary, Mr. A and Mr. M, The Story of A&M Records, which will be premiering this Sunday on EPIX. The first thing I wanted to ask you about is you mentioned in the documentary that you discovered artists like Joe Cocker and the Carpenters from cassette tapes that they had sent you. And I was curious as to what is the process, what was the process of that a tape would be sent to A&M, and what did it go through to get onto either your desk or Herb's desk?
Well, it would have to go through some people, I think. In regard to the two records you mentioned, we would hear those records directly. Herb was given the Carpenters to listen to, and I had heard Joe Cocker through a friend of mine, Denny Cordell, in London. And the confusion arose after the making of the record was usually the artist makes the decision to have it recorded, and we recorded it anyway. But in the case of the producers, both Denny and Leon had passed away by that time, so we were stuck. And then Glenn Johns helped out a great deal, just by mixing the records and taking them home at night and playing them for people. So Glenn Johns really gets a great pleasure. It always gives me a great pleasure to mention his name.
I feel like this is a bit of an obvious question, but I'm still curious. Were you apprehensive at all about being part of a documentary that was entirely exploring your professional life?
No, because we made it about Joe pretty much, and it was about his songs and the way he's treated each song. So basically, it was Joe Cocker in live color, basically, and we were able to present it that way.
Were there any stories you told during the shooting of this that didn't make it into the final film that you wish had been in there?
Well, a lot about Joe and his drug taking was well known. We didn't want that to be a drug movie. We wanted it to be a regular movie. And it became a regular film. And where it's seen today, you're seeing a performance of Joe Cocker and all his brilliance. And he was unusually great, in the sense that nobody ever sang with such force. And the meaning of his words was incredible. So judging from your reaction and my reaction, I think we did the right thing by making it about Joe Cocker's voice, rather than the way he lived or what he took excitement.
Outside of Joe Cocker, though, were there any other stories that, and I just meant in general, that you had told that just didn't make it into the final cut that you wish they had?
No, I think that was the only one that I think of. That was a major one. That decision was pretty much made by myself.
So I'm curious as to, you left A&M around the early 90s, and since then the music industry has gone through some extremely radical changes over the years, and I'm curious as to what your take is on the current status of the music industry today and the direction that it's going in.
Well, I'm really very concerned. I'm not hearing new stuff. Some of the new recording ideas are well expressed and they're not being used. For example, the live recording is a whole other source of the business that requires a lot of thought and a lot of patience. And I believe that the live recording is a source of way people can get known and people can get more access to other things.
So I want to ask just a bit of a personal question. This is about your personal tastes. What are your 3 personal favorite albums that A&M ever produced?
Well, one would have to be the Sting album. The last Sting record was great. And the second would have to be the Peter Frampton record. And the third would be Cocker.
So one other thing I'm also extremely curious about with, you know, we heard so many stories about all the different acts that you had signed to A&M Records, and I wanted to know, were there any acts that you and Herb had the opportunity to sign but didn't, and then they went on to be really successful afterwards?
I think we had the opportunity to sign Neil Diamond, and we couldn't afford it at the time. And but to see Neil flourish the way he has is exciting and very, very heartwarming.
You know, the I'm curious as to also, were there any projects that artists who were working for the label did that became successes that were surprising to you, that you didn't think they would work commercially, but somehow they did?
I don't really think of that in particular. I don't know about that in particular. I can't say. And there might have been some, but they don't come to mind. At a time like this, they don't come to mind.
You know what? Another thing that I was just wondering if you could just speak to also is what really comes off interest very well in the documentary is the level of friendship that exists between you and Herb Alpert. And I'm just curious as to how did that stay so strong for so many years when, you know, for a lot of people, if they're in a business relationship with someone they're friends with, it can get complicated, or personal things can come up. But I'm curious as to how that stayed so strong between you two.
I think basically it's the question of what beats in the heart of the 2 men that you mentioned. I think Herb needs somebody to tell him what to do from time to time, and I need somebody as well. So it doesn't affect our relationships, or they don't have to know what happens at different times. We do get together. And a lot was a place we did get together often enough. That office is very close to each other as well.
One of the other things that I found very fascinating about the documentary was the look into the art department of A&M Records, and how you had artists really intimately working with what was his name? Young, the graphics, the head of the art department there. And I was wondering, was that something when you started A&M, was that something that was a conscious decision, like you really wanted that to be a part of the record, of the experience of being at that record label?
Yes, and I think, you know, we could afford only so much but we were able to, even for Herb and the initial part of it, I insisted on filming some people till Tijuana Brass was known as some other members were involved other than Herb. So we got the 6 guys to sidemen at that time to relax their scruples, certainly, just have their patience taken with no cover. In other words, we didn't identify them. But Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass became a big factor in the United States.
Well, Jerry, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you all the best during this holiday season. And to all of our viewers, please like this video and don't forget to go to goldderby.com and use the Gold Derby app to make your predictions and see if you can outsmart the best prognosticators in Hollywood. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Mr. Moss.
Thank you very much. Take care.